In this example, we're going to look at applications of subtracting signed decimals. So let's read the directions. Represent the application problems using subtraction in symbolic form and then evaluate. Notice we need to place all negative numbers in the symbolic form in parentheses. And a note, make sure to use a subtraction statement even though an addition statement may apply as well. Okay, so we're going to write these as subtraction. So let's read the first one. Carlos lowers the temperature of his freezer by 6.9 degrees. It was originally set to negative 14.5 degrees Celsius. We're asked to write the symbolic expression that represents this problem. So with subtraction, we have to be careful about order because remember, reversing the order of a subtraction problem reverses the sign. So in this one, we can think of this in terms of time and what happened when. Okay, and it's not necessarily the order that the problem is in, because it says that he lowered the temperature of his freezer by 6.9, but it was originally set to negative 14.5. So that negative 14.5 is our starting point, and then he lowered it, so we're going to think of the subtraction as lowering or taking away temperature. So take away 6.9 degrees. Okay, so this is our symbolic expression of the problem. And if you did this in the other opposite order by accident, you would notice that you would get an answer that didn't make sense. You'd get a positive answer that would say he started at negative 14 degrees, he lowered his freezer, but somehow his freezer was now positive degrees, so that wouldn't make sense. So the great thing about application problems, I know students sometimes find them more difficult, but you can use your knowledge just of these ideas to figure out if your answer makes sense or not. So I highly encourage you to do that. So here's our symbolic expression. Notice I'm putting the negative number in parentheses, and this is representing subtraction. Now let's find the temperature. I'm going to rewrite this as addition. So negative 14.5 plus negative 6.9. Okay. So we want to combine these two negative amounts. So we add their absolute values. 5 plus 9 is 14. 6 plus 4 plus 1 is 11. Carry another 1. And we have 21.4 degrees. Then we remembered we added two numbers that had the same sign, so we keep the sign of those numbers, and we have negative 21.4 degrees. And that makes sense. It started at negative 14.5 about. We lowered it by about 7, so that would be about 21 degrees negative. Let's look at the next one. Malayla's pool was filled 12.5 inches below the top of the pool. She drained the pool 10.4 inches. Write a symbolic expression using subtraction that represents this problem. Okay, so also notice here we're going to look at this question because it asks, what is the water level relative to the top of the pool? So in this problem, when we represented it, we're thinking of 0 as being the top of the pool. Okay, and as you have water that's lower than the top of the pool, that would be negative. Okay, so the pool was filled 12 inches below the top of the pool. Let's draw a little picture. So here's the pool, the water is here, and this is 12.5 inches, but since we're thinking of this as 0, this would be negative 12.5 inches. And now she's going to drain even more water out. So let's make that another color. So she's going to drain more water out by another 10.4 inches. And the draining implies that we're subtracting off the 10.4. Equivalently, we could add another negative, but this is a subtraction. We're asked to do this in terms of subtraction, so that's how we're going to do it. So we're going to start with negative 12.5 inches relative to the top of the pool, and then she drained the pool, so we'll subtract off 10.4 inches. So this is representing a negative. this is representing subtraction. So we have negative 12.5 minus 10.4. Now to find this new water level relative to the top of the pool, you can probably see this is a nice picture to help you visualize this. If we can combine these two amounts and the result will be negative, and that's where the new top of the pool will be. But looking at this value, we'll rewrite this as addition. Negative 12.5 plus negative 10.4. So I changed to addition and then took the opposite of positive 10.4, which is negative 10.4. Now I'll add these two amounts, 12.5, the absolute value of these amounts. 5 and 4 is 9. Then we have 2, 22.9. And then remember, since our original numbers, when we turn this into addition, we were adding two negatives, so our final result is negative. So these add up to 22.9. So our final answer is that the water level relative to the top of the pool is negative 22.9 inches.